So my name is Adam Procell. While some of you may know me as the Community Outreach Specialist for Partners in Hope, I want to first take a moment, that title is standing, and thank you for allowing us to present today simply as human beings. While that may sound unusual, prison is a very dehumanizing place, and you're giving us an opportunity to humanize ourselves and who we have become. And for that, Ellie, Shannon, Ruben, and myself, we thank you. Those of you within this meeting are literally the powers that be within this city, and many of you have led careers that have made our community safer. Sometimes by putting people like me behind bars for decades, deservingly so, personally. We thank you now because you do not have to listen to what we are doing today. You do not have to collaborate with us, but you are. The community, the way out, the central door are represented here today to detail the work we are doing within the reentry space. But we understand at the end of the day, it's all of you that can revolutionize reentry legally. We are humbly asking for an opportunity to collaborate, for you to utilize the knowledge that we possess. You see a side of the box of lives that quite honestly, we cannot see, and us a side that you should never fully see. Your side founded with the legal authority to enact change, our foundation built upon those closest to the problem are often closest to the solution. With that said, I ask that you look at the slide on the screen. As I introduce Shannon from the community, we're going to present today organically in the same way an individual transitions through the legal process post-crime and is approached by all of our organizations. Thank you again for your time, and please allow the Executive Director of the community, Shannon Ross, to begin reimagining reentry. Shannon?
Thank you, Adam. And thank you for the suggestion that we honor Pastor Smith today as we keep moving forward in the work that he spent so much of his life on. My name is Shannon Ross, and I'm the Executive Director of the community, an organization I founded in 2014 while serving a 17-year prison sentence in Wisconsin. The community has two arms, an in-reach arm and an outreach arm. Today, I'm going to focus on our in-reach, which we call pre-entry. Now, the term pre-entry is just a catchy way of saying re-entry starts at the moment a person enters the system, or as Adam's organization says, re-entry starts in the back of the paddy wagon, and it continues every day until they are out of the system. But in order for this to work, we have to continually meet them where they are along the way. And I assure you, this is not as much work as it may seem. People enter the criminal justice system in different stages of injury, just like fractured bones. And the recoveries from that injury will vary depending on both the person and the treatment. While we can't do anything about the person, we have enormous control over the treatment. Our pre-entry began as just a newsletter with about 200 readers. As the first issue here states, from the very beginning, our purpose was to connect, to bring light to dark places. We endeavored to connect incarcerated people to each other and their supporters on the outside, and connect supporters outside to each other more. Through many ups and downs and lessons embraced, that is as much our goal now as it was then, as we become the most widely read publication in the Wisconsin prison system, with more than 10,500 incarcerated readers having requested to be put on our list. With our recent agreement with the jail prison tablet platform Adobo, we now have access to 30,000 more incarcerated people across the country. Within 6 months, that number will jump to over a quarter of the carceral population in the country. And in a matter of 5 or 6 months, we will have access to the county jail as well, to their population. Let's walk through what this means for John and Jane Doe after getting arrested. In jail, we can start the relationship by offering help with legal rights and resources, family support, and whatever other information they need at the time, whether they will be released soon or are facing a lengthy stay. If they get sentenced to prison, we can get them prepared for what it is like in prison and how they can order property and get visits as soon as possible. Upon entering prison, we can get them information about other facilities, interesting stories and ideas, beneficial opportunities, encouragement and advice, and an enormous amount of resources available to them and their loved ones now and upon release, due to our strong relationship with dozens of local and national organizations and humanizers in this work, and vice versa, in terms of connecting these efforts to those inside. In fact, we are commonly told by people whose efforts we mentioned in an issue that they were not ready for the influx of people that reached out to them for help as a result. And we are commonly thanked for giving an organization access to those they can help in the Wisconsin prison system. In our recent issue, the DOC contacted us to ask about a well-designed, evidence-based correspondence entrepreneurship program we vetted and included. They have now been able to send beginning coursework to over 100 people with high reviews from those for its ability to connect with them. We always vet organizations and resources before including them. We never charge to do so, but rather tell those organizations and resources. We will bring to them any negative experiences our readers have with them, and we expect a reply. But we are also huge on accountability in ourselves and our readers. When we are wrong about info, we always acknowledge it in future issues, and we constantly encourage our readers to challenge us and correct us if they disagree. It's a relationship. But we challenge them to see things from the side of the system as well. It is very easy to get lost in the bitterness of the system and think it is always operating out of contempt or laziness. But the truth is far from such simple imagery, as we tell ourselves while sitting in prison feeling forgotten and scapegoated. 2 weeks after my release from prison in September, just 2020, 7 months ago, after a 17-year prison sentence, I made my personal phone number available to all 8,000 of our readers at that time to help them file for their stimulus checks. We are still dealing with the massive headache of that experience, but that requires a whole other webinar to get into and a bottle of whiskey. Kidding, I can't drink for 14 and a half more years. Not everything we publish may seem like it is relevant to successfully reentering society, like our tips for free song samples on the tablets, or our survey on phone call limits at other facilities, or our ambassador check-ins about specific features of different facilities people may get transferred to, but it is all about treating people like people when they are in, and they will act like people when they are released. It's about fostering a relationship with John and Jane Doe without calculation, sincerely meeting them where they are in the process of treating their fracture. And when they arrive at the part of their journeys where they are open to more direct info on what they need to do to be prepared to succeed, they have a trusted, credible messenger to reach out to or to just listen to, as we are always providing that type of info anyways. This came about constantly with COVID and especially the vaccine. With the help of Dr. Hawks at the Medical College of Wisconsin, faculty and staff at Yale, and the Curto Institute at Marquette, we were able to put together a special COVID vaccine issue for our readers, like John and Jane Doe. Even the DOC reached out to us to fund this project, which would have streamlined it greatly, but this fell apart because current policy bars them from contracting with someone who was on supervision, such as myself. Even though we are a 501c3 and my board could technically remove me, my name is attached to our federal EIN. We pushed ahead, however, and were able to fund it and consequently address all the questions we were getting from readers, provide context from the very credible Dr. Corbett behind the vaccine development, create graphics that we made available on the site for anyone to use in their respective vaccine info projects, offer relevant excerpts explaining more from articles, squeeze in a few COVID comics like Where's Waldo in the social distancing era of COVID, spoiler alert, he's pretty easy to find, and present commentary from various well-respected local and national humanizers in reentry and reform. We use credible messengers through video content as well, which is currently in jails and prisons across the country and hopefully in the Wisconsin DOC soon. These are vignettes of successful examples of people with criminal records as shown here. This content has a powerful impact on incarcerated people as images of individuals who were exactly where they are, but are now free and successful as citizens, students, employees, business owners, public speakers, professors, professionals, family members, politicians, and more. While we are correcting the narrative society has of us, it's just as important to correct the narrative we have about ourselves as more than just our mistakes and the stigma attached to us. As the only social group, it is not only legal, but encouraged and commonly mandatory to discriminate against. We are also documenting the work of reentry organizations to turn into vignettes, images of such resources and supporters out here ready and dedicated to helping John and Jane Doe are powerfully encouraging and motivating for them as well inside. Right now, the path through incarceration to a sustainable career upon release is a survival of the fittest. Some do, but many don't. When I was in, I had considerable support, and it was routinely difficult for me to get info I needed to plan something for my release. Info on what someone leaving prison faces to get into a field or endeavor is very loosely scattered online, in libraries, wherever you would get information. And it prepares a person for failure from misinformation and reckless dreams. Upon release, I encountered a variety of opportunities I was not able to take advantage of due to time constraints suddenly presented to me by Free Life, but I could have easily done so had I had access to rather basic info about these opportunities while I had the immense free time to read and prepare, even within just 3 months prior to my release. With more than basic info, I could have found considerable success upon release in these fields and even began making inroads prior to my release. I also found myself uninformed about avenues I had planned on pursuing and therefore setting myself down a wrong path simply because I lacked information that is available with a modicum of research online or a few phone calls and emails to ask questions. Job training is not easy, and the state invests a lot of money in it. We have the ability to address many of the gaps in the current process to considerably improve the return on that investment by meeting people where they are. Incarcerated people have a wealth of something few of us outside of prison do: time. But they are by and large wasting this immense resource for a variety of predictable and avoidable reasons. With help from Marquette, MATC, IC Stars, and others, we are compiling complete info on exactly what's required to enter any career field upon release. With the Way Out's anti-bias skills assessment tools, we will help John and Jane Doe find out what they have an aptitude for so they are on a sustainable path of their choosing. Under the current process, many people feel forced to take whatever programs are available because it helps them get transferred to a different facility, or they want to have at least something to do upon release. We can do better than giving them something to do. There is a large pool of untapped talent inside for a wide variety of careers. In fact, a book by a chief investment strategist was just put out about this topic called Untapped Talent. Lastly, once John and Jane decide what they want to pursue based on the info we have provided them about the obstacles and barriers in certain fields and their personal strengths and weaknesses, we will send them info and literature sponsored by companies or the industry they choose. We will pair them with mentors to get them, for example, 40 to 70% prepared as well. More importantly, this will coexist with the more valuable job readiness and life skills training that is so difficult to impart in the free world. As is well known by employers, teaching technical skills is easy. Teaching the intangibles of what it means to have a job and work hard and have integrity in what you do is difficult and costly. We have the expertise, partnerships with organizations, and our own content to foster these intangible skills over the many years John and Jane spend inside, so they come out as well-rounded as possible as they enter the pre-release stage, where the Way Out comes in to start formalizing a structure around the foundation we help John and Jane put in place. And I need to thank you, send a thank you to Ellie and Ruben for organizing the slides and keeping us on task and putting up with Adam's plethora of designer shoes as well. One team, one fight.
One team, one fight. Thank you, Shannon. And yes, it was a wonderful project. So thank you so much. My name is Ellie Rivera, and I'm co-founder along with Ruben Gaona of The Way Out, and where we are breaking the cycle of incarceration through technology. 2020 was an incredible year for The Way Out, and 2021 promises to be even better. We started offering employment and supportive services to justice-involved job seekers at the very end of 2020. And in January of this year, the Milwaukee Business Journal named us one of 21 startups to watch in 2021. Recently, American Family Insurance Institute for Corporate and Social Impact covered the annual subscription costs for 15 reentry service providers across Wisconsin in an effort to serve almost 1,000 returning citizens. Did you know that an individual with a felony has a 50% less likelihood of getting a call back from an employer? And that their unemployment rate is nearly 25% greater than that of the general population? In fact, the current unemployment rate for the recently incarcerated is over 27%, which is even worse than the unemployment rate during the Great Depression. In addition to trying to find a job after incarceration, another challenge is simply returning to society and going from an extremely limited and predictable life to one filled with many choices and responsibilities. This information overload can often result in returning citizens shutting down and returning to a familiar life of crime, putting them at risk of reoffending and returning to prison. The Way Out provides a streamlined support and communication platform for returning citizens, reentry pipelines, support service providers, government agencies, and employers to stay connected. The Way Out is a comprehensive anti-bias job platform that aligns employers with qualified justice-involved job seekers. The Way Out also provides the justice-involved job seekers additional services and technologies to help them integrate into their new roles successfully. The Way Out accomplishes this through a robust anti-bias employment platform and the My Way Out self-learning mobile support app and dashboard. While other second chance employment platforms only focus on bringing employers and employees together, The Way Out additionally focuses on development and retention through ongoing training and support. First off, our platform creates a blind contextual profile of the justice-involved job seeker. Next, justice-involved job seekers are screened for additional support needs, aligned with reentry service providers to help address their training and support needs, and then matched with the job. Lastly, all progress is tracked and managed via the My Way Out self-learning mobile app and dashboard. On our website, the justice-involved job seekers are onboarded, support needs are identified, and their anti-bias employment profile is created. We simultaneously parse the blind profile for the employers who are seeking to work with second chance employees. And then we also pull the information for additional supported services that we then share with a primary reentry service provider. This has worked exceptionally well during COVID when some of the organizations were not seeing people in person. And so that really fed the amount of people who came through once we launched at the end of 2020. Here's what the anti-bias profile looks like to an employer. We give them a clever little moniker here, and then the parsed contextual summary is what is shared. Should the employer want to move forward, the introduction is then made, again, all cloaked until there is an agreement to move forward, and then due diligence happens on the employer's part. And simultaneously, the reentry service provider, along with the Way Out and the My Way Out app, are there to support the returning citizen in their new venture. This is what the dashboard looks like for the reentry service providers, where they're able to add support workers. They're able to look at clients, their snapshot, to kind of get a dashboard perspective of how the person is doing on their reentry journey in support needs, personal development, as well as professional development. All tasks, all journeys, all of the information then gets cataloged for quicker reference as they build future client tracks. And we encourage prizes or any other incentives for the returning citizen or their families to keep folks on track and maintain their focus on their reentry and employment. This is the My Way Out reentry support app. This is the perspective that the client then has. They're able to check in, see how they're doing at any point during their process. And then this is where the digital wallet, as well as any badges are earned, and where they can see all of the information in regards to the journey that has been laid by their case manager. It also provides them quick reference to any of the folks that they will be meeting with, and allows them to also contact them via the app, via text, call, email. These are just some examples of some of the information that can be added to the app. And then the most important component of the app, you'll see in a moment here, is the fact that everything is timestamped, so that folks are able to gauge progress and really have honest conversations about that progress. So, with the assistance of Project Return Milwaukee and soon Central Door, The Way Out has served numerous justice-involved job seekers in 2021 and has received verbal commitments from several reentry service providers and second chance employers across the state. These partnerships will grant The Way Out access to thousands of justice-involved job seekers and jobs across Wisconsin. Also, thanks to Shannon and the community, we have begun onboarding incarcerated individuals who are 6 months from release. Our team consists of highly qualified individuals in the reentry education, technology, and business fields. Not only is our team highly qualified, but we also represent the communities from which most of our employee prospects come from. Having personally experienced the challenges of incarceration and homelessness by our team contributes to our ability to form intimate connections within the communities that we serve. Thank you all for your time, and now Adam Procell will share with you what John or Jane Doe's journey through the Central Door will look like.
Thank you, Ellie and Ruben. I'm currently the Community Outreach Specialist here at Partners in Hope. And over this past year, I've spoken with many of you in this meeting about the need to de-silo, if you will, all the reentry services within Milwaukee County. The thought was born out of a conversation I had with John Chisholm and essentially took on a life of its own. I eventually spoke upon my idea at one of the reentry council meetings using the following scenario. I asked for participants to envision John or Jane Doe being released from some sort of physical custody 1 week ago. Of the 67 groups on that particular meeting, I asked, how many of them did John or Jane Doe know exist? And you could literally hear a pin drop. Then someone answered 1, another person 2 or 3. And I said that is absolutely unacceptable because believe it or not, there are dozens and dozens of phenomenal reentry organizations within Milwaukee County wanting nothing more than to help people live a better life, a life that makes our communities safer. As it stands now, the process for those leaving various stages of confinement look like this. There are 3 jurisdictions that an individual's incarceration can fall under: state, county, and federal. When John or Jane Doe is released into Milwaukee County from any of these institutions, they are released from either the Milwaukee County Jail, the House of Corrections, probation and parole, as some have never been incarcerated, serving only supervision time, the Department of Corrections, federal reentry. These individuals can be released onto home confinement, sent to a halfway house, or via compassionate release. And finally, the Milwaukee Police Department from one of their 7 districts. Various internal mechanisms exist to hopefully connect individuals with the reentry resources they need. Most often, an individual's supervision agent, word of mouth, a department or staff member within a correctional institution, or a reentry service provider that is actively seeking clients to assist. Unfortunately, there is not an organized process that ensures every individual released is provided with the reentry resources they need to succeed. Before I get into the specifics as to how the central door will operate, I want to show where the flow we aim to exist. As Elliot and Ruben from The Way Out indicated, they are already onboarding those confined approximately 6 months prior to their release. As a part of that onboarding, the central door will get notified of an individual's release date along with that individual's particular needs, i.e., do they have a social security card, birth certificate, any fees they may have, restitution, housing, etc. When they get physically released and walk through our doors, we will already know what services to provide for them, along with a good idea on who can best provide the best tailored assistance. We are literally looking to be the concierge service for reentry services. As you can see, the central door will refer clients to various reentry service providers to further assist with needs. I only listed a few as there's limited space, so I apologize for the many not listed. Now as to what the central door will look like. As I explained, there is not a centrally located nor sanctioned office of reentry for those entering Milwaukee County. To that end, we have created the Central Door, an acronym for the Department of Organized Reentry. We will facilitate access between reentry service providers and those being released into our community in a central physical location, as well as virtually via the centraldoor.online. Our mission is to close and lock the revolving door of incarceration by opening the central door to successful reentry. It is the goal of the Central Door organization to assist every single individual returning from an incarcerated status walk through one door and ensure they are given access to all of the reentry resources they need to succeed. I've had several ongoing conversations with state, county, and federal jurisdictions. We're in the process of signing an MOU with the DOC, and Neil Thorson has been beyond helpful in that regard, that will send all inmates returning from state prison to the Central Door, and it will be there that they sign their supervision rules. Commander Dobson at the county jail has agreed to make the Central Door materials mandatory for the entire population, and we're in talks of possibly creating a shuttle service from their door to ours. The House of Corrections, along with Parsons House, artists over at WCS, Ken Gales, Stephen McMillan, Bill Lipscomb, among others on the federal side, have all agreed to collaborate. The Milwaukee Bucks have also come on board and are offering their support as well. We're currently searching for a location to be going live, but as we know, physical spaces are certainly expensive. Logistically speaking, when John or Jane Doe is released from a correctional institution, as an example, they will be required to meet their agent within the Central Door. We will already know what needs they have, but let's say they need everything. John or Jane Doe will initially meet with a case manager and mental health expert to address any psychological needs. They will then meet with the Office of Identification to sign up for their Social Security card, birth certificate, and driver's license if eligible. John or Jane Doe will then meet with the financial department and sign up for a bank account with one of the credit unions we're partnering with that do not require minimum account balances nor administer transaction fees. We will have a direct deposit bank account for them before they leave with the debit card in the mail. Housing is next for John or Jane Doe. They will be advised of all the landlords that rent to those with criminal backgrounds and connect them with homeless shelters that do not discriminate based upon one's criminal background. With the healthcare office, John or Jane Doe will be signed up for Badger Care or any other applicable services. We are also in conversations with Progressive to possibly attach an on-site clinic that would provide dental and initial doctor visits for returning citizens. As stated earlier, we want to connect John and Jane Doe with a reentry service provider that best fits their needs, whether that's WCS, Project Return, Partners in Hope, etc. It will be with them that John or Jane Doe gets that long-term reentry support. Obviously, employment is a crucial one and is key to one's success. But as I tell people all the time, a job will not keep someone out of prison if they don't have the wraparound support they need to succeed. John or Jane Doe will create an initial resume. We will offer resume building classes by appointment, and they will be directed to employment agencies such as Employ Milwaukee. We will hold job fairs on site, as well as offer space to the home to stay event. Many individuals will have legal proceedings, whether restitution, community service, active criminal cases, etc. We will assist John or Jane Doe in making sense of all these active legal proceedings against them. It will be then that John or Jane Doe meet with their parole or probation agent and go over the terms of their supervision. Only after being given access to all the resources thus far can they sign their rules for supervision. This will ensure that all state returnees from that point forward will in fact be made aware of all of the reentry resources we feel are the biggest barriers towards recidivism. Along the way, and need dependent, we will offer a transition coach to assist John or Jane Doe as they navigate our offices. This will be by someone with lived experience who is dedicated to helping others transition successfully. We hear it over and over again that there are just some things that only people who have gone through it can understand and can be trusted to assist in that process. We will utilize the each one, teach one philosophy. In conclusion, we understand that the reentry landscape is complicated and difficult. There are so many moving parts, especially considering the various processes state, county, and federal agencies utilize. You may ask, why should I care? Who cares what happens to people after they get out of prison? In response to those and similar questions, I ask that you look at it from this perspective. We, so many of the individuals within this meeting are in the business of preventing tears from falling, and yet so few even realize that. So often we throw around recidivism statistics, the cost to house someone in prison for a year, the county jail population, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What is never talked about is that for every one of those statistics, every one of those dollars, there's a victim behind that. And those victims cry real tears of pain, of anguish. So we should all be in the business of preventing tears from falling. The interest you should have vested is, as the diagram shows, if we can all connect and surround John or Jane Doe with the resources they need to succeed, they will find them in the proverbial sweet spot where all entities within the justice system surround them. A space that is dry of tears, is desolate in the creation of victims. And that space is hope. We thank you for the time you have given us to present, and we want to invite you to share ideas of collaboration. There are obvious ideas that experts within this meeting might have that quite simply we may not see. We will be grateful for that conversation. Thank you again, and I will now turn it back over to Chief Judge Trajano.
Thank you all. That was a fabulous presentation. A lot of information.